Hello, everyone. I'm Paula Kamperman, the Outreach Program Manager of the Bennington County Solid Waste Alliance, and today I'll be talking to you about the various recycling programs available to Vermont residents and how you can best utilize them. Also, a recording of this presentation will be available on our YouTube page, and those registered for this event will receive a link to the recording and any materials referenced during this presentation. If you have a question along the way, feel free to use the Q&A or chat button at the bottom of your screen, and I'll answer them at the end of the presentation. I also have received some in advance. So let's get started. Many of you might be hearing about the Alliance for the first time today, so I'll give you a little background. The Alliance was formed in 2015 to assist participating towns in reducing solid waste disposed in landfills by reducing the amount of waste generated, conserve resources, and promote recycling and reuse. The Alliance provides education and outreach to businesses, schools, residents, and institutions to help achieve Alliance's goal to reduce the amount of material in our service area sent to landfill and increase the amount of material diverted from landfills for recycling and reuse. The Alliance is made up of 13 towns: Arlington, Bennington, Dorset, Glastonbury, Manchester, Pownell, Rupert, Sandgate, Searsburg, Shaftesbury, Stamford, Sunderland, and Woodford. The towns of Peru, Reedsboro, Londonderry, Landgrove, and Winhall, while in Bennington County, are not members of the Alliance. All of the businesses, residences, and schools, organizations located within the Alliance can take advantage of our services. Services the Alliance provides include solid waste audits, where we visit businesses, schools, and institutions to review their waste management practices and offer technical assistance in the managing of their solid waste. This could include a review of current recycling laws, provide resources to recycling items banned from the landfill, provide communication pieces and signing for staff about recycling, and suggest ways to possibly lower solid waste hauling costs. We provide household hazardous waste collection events during warmer months of the year. This service is also available to small businesses who pre-register with us, which can cost less than a dedicated pickup by hazardous waste companies coming to their location. We provide source information for the disposal of banned items such as computers, electronics, fluorescent bulbs, and paint through special recycling. Most of this information is also available on our website. We also provide community outreach through presentations to groups and the public about recycling, composting, and waste reduction. A good example of this is making a presentation to residents of apartment or condominium complex about setting up food scrap diversion and proper recycling. Nearly half of all the waste produced globally is either organic or biodegradable. When sent to a landfill and allowed to degrade anaerobically, that's without the presence of oxygen, methane is produced, which is 30 times more powerful than carbon dioxide at trapping heat. The increases in greenhouse gas emissions is responsible for our climate change. So when we reduce the amount of waste we generate, we reduce our need for additional landfill space while reducing our carbon footprint. Vermont's Universal Recycling Law adopted a food recovery hierarchy into law in 2012 to draw attention to our use of uneaten food and help guide consumers into making the highest and best use of their food. The most preferred method, as you see looking at this diagram, is using source reduction followed by food for people, then animals, then composting. When we reduce our consumption of food and thereby reduce the amount of food scraps generated in the first place by shopping smarter, strategically planning meals with the foods we have on hand, less of our food goes to waste. When we do have leftover food, our first priority is to give it to people first through food pantries and other organizations. When we have lower quality food waste, we share that with animals and other agricultural uses. Any leftover food at this point should be composted or used in anaerobic digestion. In 2014, Vermont began requiring large food scrap generators like grocery stores, factories, universities, and large hospitals to divert their food scraps from landfills to certified facilities. As of July 1st, 2020, smaller generators, including all Vermont residents, are now required to divert their food scraps. This requires all residents to adjust the ways in which food is disposed of, and as residents implement a program for food scrap diversion that meets the needs of all residents while still complying with state laws. I'll spend the next few minutes outlining those details. Residents have a number of options to dispose of food scraps. First, they may hire a company to pick up those food scraps. Currently, commercial haulers aren't offering curbside food scrap collection, but smaller startup enterprises are starting up around the state to fill this void. Vermont law specifically states haulers are not required to pick up food scraps from individual residential addresses, but they are required to offer food scrap collection as part of the trash and recycling service to multi-family dwellings with 4 or more units, as well as commercial accounts such as schools, businesses, and institutions. Especially in a multi-unit setting, it may make sense to manage trash, recycling, and food scraps together for the hauler to pick up. Residents also have the option to collect food scraps individually or collectively for a drop-off at a transfer station, farm, or community composting facility. The third option, digest or compost in backyard or common green space, can be an easy diversion method if space is available and someone is willing to actively manage the bin or bins. When properly managed, composting produces a rich soil amendment containing vital nutrients that can be added to houseplants, gardens, and lawns, while reducing soil erosion and protecting against drought, as this matter holds up 20 times its weight in water. Backyard composting is a relatively inexpensive option, with residents purchasing or building the bin that collects scraps. Using a solar digester, for those unfamiliar with the process, is a way for residents to place food scraps, including meat, bones, and pet waste, into a container that is partially submerged underground that may only need to be emptied every few years. Commercial haulers provide food scrap collection in a multi-unit complex or commercial location. They typically provide containers, either rolling carts, similar to trash and recycling carts, to store outside or within a shed or garage. If you would be dropping off food scraps at either a centrally located collection point on site or a transfer station, a 2 to 5 gallon bucket with lids works well for daily collection of each unit's food scraps. Now that I've explained the various options there are to food scrap diversion, I'm going to describe the ways in which you can get a chosen food scrap collection system started. If you are a resident within a multifamily dwelling of 4 or more units or a commercial location and are already using a hauler to pick up your trash and recycling, check with your property manager or landlord to see if they offer food scrap collection. Using a hauler, keep in mind managing odors and pests around food scraps prior to pickup require adding carbons, or known as browns, such as sawdust, mulch, wood shavings, leaves, shredded newspaper, and other organic material on top of food scraps stored in a tote or bin. Large haulers may provide an additional tote containing wood pulp or sawdust, which is used to apply on top of food scraps, so you'll need to make sure your collection location has enough space for the additional bins. Most haulers and commercial drop-off locations accept all food scraps, including meat, bones, fats, oils, coffee grounds, and filters, along with spoiled food. It is important that everyone understand what goes into these bins or collection buckets is just organic material. No produce sticky labels, wrappings, or plastic bags used to line a kitchen compost bin or transport scraps from the kitchen that is then deposited along with the food scraps to a common area collection bin. Plastic bags do not break down during the composting process and must be sorted out. Most haulers and transfer stations only accept bags that are labeled BPI certified and compostable, but check with your hauler or transfer station before using them. On a side note, compostable bags can be used as a bucket liner and can also be very expensive, however, over a long period of time when disposed of with each load, and their quality from company to company can vary widely. A bag that breaks on the way to the collection bin can create a real mess. A less expensive method may be just to line the small bucket with newspaper that can be emptied along with the food scraps into the collection bin, and just wash out the bucket once emptied into the larger collection tote. Hardware stores and online bulk wholesalers sell buckets with lids. Some restaurants, bakeries, grocery stores, and food manufacturers end up with extra buckets on hand that they can give away for free. You can also find websites like FreeCycle or networks like Front Porch Forum where they sometimes have them advertised. If you live in a single-family dwelling or a property that has just a few residential units, composting food scraps in the backyard can be an easy solution if someone is willing to actively manage the piles throughout the year. Compost bins can be made of a variety of materials, but plastic compost bins purchased at hardware stores or through the Alliance during warmer weather months at scheduled events can be an economical and easy way to get started. Residents composting in the backyard should be reminded that leftover meat and bones should be placed in the trash rather than the compost bin, as their composting system won't likely reach a temperature high enough to properly break down the animal material and can also attract unwanted animals. The key to managing a successful composting system is understanding the techniques for proper breakdown to keep animals away and maintain a healthy sanitary condition on your property. The University of Vermont's Extension has a master composting course online they offer 2 times a year, and the state of Vermont also has resources for successful composting. Solar digesters are also a good solution if you don't have a use for the finished compost and just want to break down the food scraps. A solar digester will break down all food scraps, including meat, bones, and animal waste. While a lot more expensive up front, it requires less looking after once the system is set up than a composting system. In either case, it is important that you size the system to be sufficient to serve the size and number of your households that you have. Vermont has seen an increase in human-bear interactions, so it's important to take a few steps to discourage bears and to manage your compost so it doesn't attract animals. For example, take down bird feeders during non-winter months. Use 3 times as many browns as greens in your compost to minimize the smell and to speed up the process of composting, and regularly turn your compost pile so the materials break down more quickly. If bear activity persists, check with your neighbors to see if they have bird feeders up or other food sources that are attracting animals. More information about composting and resources to address animal issues can be found in a booklet entitled The Dirt on Compost, distributed by the Vermont DEC. For any food scrap diversion to be successful, understanding the process is key. It's important to understand that what food scraps are and determine how they'll be collected and brought to the central collection area or backyard system. Perhaps a receptacle such as a bucket with a lid, pictured here, to collect the food scraps in the kitchen to later take to the collection bin outside. The state of Vermont has downloadable bin signs you can post above bins, identifying proper sorting of food scraps, recycling, and trash, as well as instructions for setting up a composting system. Your hauler's website may also provide you downloadable signs for easy sorting of items. Next part of the Vermont's recycling program includes what is picked up outside of on your curb in your blue collection bin. In its simplest form, it includes 3 categories: paper, cardboard, and containers like bottles, cans, and jars that are clean and dry. Household consumable items made of aluminum, steel, glass, paper, cardboard, and plastics labeled number 1 and 2 are banned from the landfill, so they must be recycled. You may be able to recycle other items in your mixed recycling bin or at your transfer station, so you should contact your hauler or your town to learn more. Your curbside recycling program has limits as to what it can accept. Minimum size of items deposited loose in your recycling bin is 2 inches on 2 sides. For example, you can collect tinfoil in a tight ball on your kitchen counter until it reaches at least 2 inches in diameter. You can also collect small pieces of paper in a larger envelope and seal it shut before placing it in your recycling bin. The maximum length allowed in your bin is 2 feet. This means you should trim down oversized cardboard, boxes, and tubing so that it can be easily collected and sorted at the materials recovery facility, also known as a MRF. The biggest challenge to successful recycling is contamination. We can all do our part by making sure items we put in the recycling bins are clean and dry. So here are some good guidelines. Rinse recyclable containers clean. They don't have to be perfect, just free of most residue. You don't want to put in anything with leftover food on it in the recycling bin. That's gross, and it reduces the value of the recyclables. A little grease stain left on a pizza takeout box is fine. All of your pizza toppings stuck to the roof of a pizza box is not. You just throw that one away. Plastic bags can be recycled and cannot be recycled in your curbside bin. So please don't recycle your bags or put plastic film of any kind in your bin. It jams up the machinery at the MRF and slows down the recycling process. The good news is they can be recycled through other special recycling programs I'll discuss later. While some items may be made partially or entirely of paper, cardboard, or plastic, they may not be recyclable. Expandable polystyrene, known as styrofoam, was banned in 2020 for sale in stores and use in food service establishments in Vermont. This includes plates and cups, trays, egg cartons, and takeout containers. Popular product pouches are convenient to manufacturers because they're lightweight, inexpensive, and can either be made to stand up or store on shelves or hung on pegs. But unfortunately, there is no recycling program in Vermont to recycle these items, so they must be placed in the trash. Gabled cartons and aseptic packaging, commonly used for shelf-stable liquids and refrigerated dairy and non-dairy milks and juices, for the most part cannot be recycled either in Vermont, but check with your hauler to be certain. Black plastic takeout container trays and coffee lids with their dark pigmentation cannot currently be recycled in your curbside program or at your transfer station, even if they contain appropriate triangular recycling markings. Many paper coffee cups aren't recyclable either, as they are lined with a plastic lining to prevent leakage. Curbside recycling is sorted by hand, so it is critically important that you do not put the following items out in your recycling bin, all of which can cause injury to workers and potentially start dangerous fires in transfer stations or on the trucks. In addition, when these items are thrown into the trash, residual chemicals and toxic metals can leach into groundwater later, and they include household hazardous waste, batteries, including lead acid, rechargeable, and lithium-ion batteries, as well as electronics, computers, and peripherals, fluorescent bulbs and other mercury-containing thermostats. The good news is there are special recycling and disposal programs that exist in Vermont to keep these dangerous items out of our landfill. I'll explain each of these programs. Extended producer responsibility. That is a term that the industry uses to have industry sponsor initiatives of manufacturers to take materials out of the waste stream at the end of their life cycle. Call to Recycle is the industry-sponsored organization that manages the battery recycling program in Vermont. Batteries included are primary or single use. This would include non-rechargeable alkaline, lithium, zinc oxide, and any other battery that you would normally dispose of after use. Also batteries including rechargeable ones, which include lithium-ion, small sealed lead acid, nickel cadmium, and nickel metal hydride. All these types of batteries can be recycled when their terminal ends are taped or sealed in a plastic bag and dropped off at locations throughout the state, including transfer stations, household hazardous waste collection events, and several retailers. Visit our website or call to recycle for drop-off locations. A mercury-containing bulb, regardless of the amount of mercury, cannot be discarded in the trash. Mercury-containing light bulbs manufactured after November 30th, 2003 will have a labeling on the bulb itself with the words "contains mercury" or the symbol Hg within a circle. Hg is the scientific symbol for mercury on the periodic table of elements. Do not crush mercury added bulbs. Bulbs should be stored in ways that avoid breakage, as crushing releases mercury vapors that may pose health and environmental risks. Bulbs broken are hazardous waste. Residents, small businesses, and institutions such as schools can recycle mercury-containing bulbs, including all fluorescent, at local transfer stations and some retail locations. Find a collector near you, as well as their drop-off guidelines, visit our website or lamprecycle.org. Vermont eCycles program provides free and convenient recycling of computers, monitors, televisions, printers, and computer peripherals to residents, charities, school districts, and small businesses. Although electronic waste is a small component of all the waste that is disposed, it is the fastest growing component of waste. Think of how many more computer devices there are that weren't around 20 years ago. Locations participating in the program will allow a drop-off of up to 7 devices free of charge. Other electronics banned from the disposal but not covered under the eCycles program include, but aren't limited to, game consoles, telephones, personal music players, VCRs, DVD players, and stereo equipment. These items aren't necessarily accepted at all locations, and some locations may charge a fee. For more information about participating locations and their guidelines, visit our website, bcswabt.org or vtrecycles.org. Paint is banned from landfill in Vermont. Proper management of paint lessens harmful impacts on our environment and is a better use of resources than landfilling leftover unwanted paint. Latex paint can often be recycled into new paint, and oil-based paint can be reblended and used as fuel. So don't dump liquid paint down the drains or into the trash. If you have hardened latex paint, it is okay to dispose of it in the trash. However, never throw oil-based paint into the trash, whether it is hardened or liquid. For more information about guidelines, visit our website or paintcare.org for drop-off locations. Architectural paint products still in their liquid form that include house paint and primers, latex or oil-based, stains, decks, and concrete sealers, clear finishes such as varnish and shellac can be dropped off for recycling at several area retailers in quantities up to 5 gallons a day, as long as they are in their original container. Household hazardous waste, or HHW, includes any household products labeled caution, toxic, danger, hazard, warning, poisonous, reactive, corrosive, or flammable. The Alliance provides household hazardous waste collection events during warm weather months. These events are free to the residents of the Alliance. Schools and small businesses located within the Alliance may also take part in the event by pre-registering and paying any disposal fees, which would be less expensive than a dedicated pickup. Items at these events include things like chemicals, pesticides, paints, and mercury-containing items such as fluorescent bulbs, thermometers, and thermostats, and alkaline and rechargeable batteries. This year's next event is Saturday, July 24th at the Agency of Transportation in Reedsboro and Saturday, September 11th at the Dorset School. All events will run from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Visit our website as we get closer to the event dates for complete information. You can also follow us on our Facebook page or see ads in the Vermont News Guide for other scheduled dates and locations. Textiles, including apparel, shoes, towels, and linens, can all be donated or recycled. Green and yellow collection boxes such as this one illustrated are located throughout Bennington County and collect all manner of clean textiles that are donated or recycled into rags or other uses related to manufacturing. Goodwill of the Berkshires, located in Bennington, and also a truck in Manchester, accepts textiles and certain household items. Additionally, V&A and Hospice of the Southwest region has a thrift shop in Manchester that accepts donations of clothing and household goods. Visit their websites prior to donating to determine what items they are accepting. If you are putting textiles in a collection box, make sure the items donated are just clothing, shoes, and other textiles that are clean and bagged prior to depositing. If the box is full, please wait and make your donation until after the box has been emptied by the agency. Most of the boxes are located on private property, and the owners do not want the hassle of dealing with the excess donations and unwanted household items piling up outside the boxes. Plastic film is a category that includes many types of packaging, none of which can go into your recycling bin, but can be returned to your local grocery store that accepts plastic bags. Material that can be recycled includes flexible number 2 or number 4 plastic with these types of markings. Packaging made from these materials include grocery and produce bags, newspaper and bread bags. In addition, Ziploc bags after you remove the zipper, Amazon plastic padded shipping pouches, air pillows and bubble wrap, case wrap and stretchy product wrap. Some other materials not commonly known but also are included in this program include cereal bags, wood pellet and softener salt bags with the ends cut off and any of the residue dusted off, as well as dry cleaning bags. The following items, while maybe made out of some type of plastic, cannot be included in this program. Crinkly plastic, such as grape bags or pre-washed salad mix bags, shiny metallic food lining, pouches, chip bags, meat and cheese packaging, to name just a few, pet food or birdseed bags, mulch or soil bags, or even agricultural plastic woven in the grain or seed bags, and biodegradable, degradable, or compostable plastic. The Trex Corporation, famous for the outdoor decking, is the company that utilizes all the plastic film you recycle at your local grocery store and community-led collection programs. For more information, you can visit trex.com/recycling. Here are the retailers in Vermont that participate in the National Trex Plastic Film Recycling Program. Beyond Vermont's borders are a host of specialized recycling programs offered by innovative companies such as TerraCycle that work to collect and repurpose hard-to-recycle waste. Think things like cigarette butts, car seats, plastic collected from beaches and waterways, beauty products, and PPE, to name a few. You can visit their website at terracycle.com for a full list of the collection programs, some of which are free, others do require a fee. It is important to put this whole process in perspective. Once you realize that more of what we throw away isn't actually trash, but a marketable commodity with a monetary value on items such as paper, aluminum, cardboard, glass, tin, plastic, and food scraps, your sorting of items and making sure they are clean and dry and uncontaminated is easier. And you know you are doing your part to reduce your carbon footprint. The Alliance is available to host on-site or virtual presentations to groups about recycling and composting to help residents better understand the process, so your waste management program is a success. And feel free to contact us throughout our website or email us or Facebook for assistance. We're just a phone call away as well. We're here for you. Thanks for listening to the presentation. I'm here to answer any questions now. The names you see before you are mine, Paula Kamperman, the Outreach Program Manager, as well as Michael Batcher, who is the Program Manager and a Regional Planner for the Bennington County Regional Commission. Okay, there are a couple of questions I have received, one of which is, where is the location for the material recovery facilities that process Bennington recyclables? Okay, that is tough to say because there are 14 haulers that are registered within the Alliance. The largest of which I can tell you, Casella, takes their recycling directly to their own company-owned materials recycling facilities, or MRFs, one of which is in Rutland, which is the closest, and then the other one is in Chittenden County. So most of their material goes directly to Rutland. There are other companies, though, that actually take the recycling out of state and over into New York or Massachusetts. So each company does its own thing. They're not regulated as to where they have to take it necessarily, but they do report out how much is actually diverted from landfills in the matter of tons annually. The other question I have here is, what work is being done with manufacturers of plastic products and packaging so that more is actually recyclable? Well, most of that is kind of a tug and pull between industry and government. Typically, historically, most of the recycling is paid for by municipalities and taxpayers at the end of life cycle, which is what we're grappling with in our recycling bins. What we are trying to do is do what is called extended producer responsibility, which is shift the responsibility back on manufacturers to take on the cost and burden of getting the material they put out in the way of packaging back through recycling process and out of it by having their own take back programs or making it fully recyclable. That is something that is being done through legislation state by state. Vermont doesn't have an EPR law at this point. They are working toward it, but it's still in the process. There's a lot of other things they're trying to get going as well. It's a big lift because manufacturers are kind of pushing back on it. It's very expensive to take on, and that's all I can say about it, because it's kind of politically charged. The environmentalists want to see that end and have more people involved in getting the materials out. You get a lot of multi-compositional packaging, and it can't get properly recycled because it's lightweight and it moves material quickly through the process, but at the end of the life, there's nothing we can do with it. So talk to your legislators. Let's see if there are any other ones. If anyone has any other questions, feel free to type them in the Q&A. Or your chat. I'll wait another minute or so. Somebody typing away, we can see if there's anything else. Okay, can you repeat what plastics we can't recycle? All right, so essentially what that is, in the reality of it right now, anything, if you see the recycling symbols around it, that doesn't necessarily mean it's recycling in a recycle bin. Right now, 1s, 2s, and 5s are the ones that have markets for recycling. So anything that is crinkly plastic that we talked about that holds produce, think the grate bags that you see in the produce section, or all the salad bags that you see in, that is not recyclable. Takeout items, if you're using takeout plastic that comes from a restaurant, if it's 1 or 2 or 5 and it is clear or white, something like that, is recyclable. You have nothing that is 6 or 7 is recyclable right now. Even though it has a number, there's no market for it, so you can probably toss that away. The soft plastics that I mentioned are recyclable. That is plastic film, and those number 2 or 4 can go in your bag that goes back to the grocery store. Any hard plastics that are not food or consumer related. So for example, the other day I saw somebody put a hose cart in a recycling bin that's plastic, but it isn't recyclable because it's not anything they can manage. There's no market for a hose cart. It's, you know, huge, and it's made of a number of different items, plastic, metal, some other composition that is not recyclable whatsoever. So we usually stick to consumable items things that you use for food or household chemicals or goods, personal care items, that sort of thing. Now we have another question. Pizza boxes. You said cleaner ones can be recycled. Is that idiosyncratic to the carrier? I always told you couldn't recycle any pizza boxes. Well, that's what we call evolution. There was a time when actually no pizza boxes were recycled, but they have found that the cardboard in mass that they're getting is so tremendous. The amount of contamination that might be represented by being on the lid or bottom of a pizza box by the way of a grease stain is minimal, and it can be mixed in enough within the cardboard feedstock as an overall pallet, or rather bale. They can use that, and it still keeps the contamination rate well below their standard, so they're fine. Obviously, if there's cheese on it, you know, pull it off. Or if you can't get it off, cut it out so the cheese stain is cut out and the rest of the cardboard is still good. It doesn't have to be a perfect pizza box. They want the cardboard so they can recycle that part. Let's see if there's anything else. All right. Any other questions? Okay, well, feel free to contact me directly if you think of anything else. I will also have a full recording of this that you'll get tomorrow, as well as one posted on our YouTube page and all of the materials I referenced in this conversation. Thank you so much for your time today. You will all enjoy the rest of your day.